All right, ladies and gents, so today we are going to talk about genetics and genes, and with that, we are also going to talk about genetic mutations. So as we talked about in class, proteins are actually what make a thing a thing. Your DNA is what codes for those specific proteins, and the protein is what makes flowers have different colors and your blood type and all of that good stuff. So today we are going to focus on mutations. So mutations are obviously when something goes wrong. So we tend to think about like all the superheroes like the X-Men that are on the bottom there. So all of the X-Men have some sort of mutation or they're mutants that make something different in their bodies. And that's basically what a genetic mutation is. Our two types of genetic mutations that we have are a point mutation and a chromosomal mutation. So with a point mutation, okay, this is a change in one gene. So we are only changing one gene with that mutation. With a chromosomal mutation, we are changing an entire chromosome. So those are different things like Down syndrome or more severe mutations that we can have. With these different types of point mutations, there's three main types. So there's a substitution. So maybe within a string of bases, it is supposed to read like A, T, and then a C. So with the substitution mutation, what would happen is that ATC now might be AAC. Okay? And in some of these cases, that is going to code for actually a completely different amino acid. In a deletion mutation, it's exactly as it sounds. So once again, instead of ATC, we maybe delete one of the letters. So now we just have AC. Okay, so that's our deletion. And an insertion, we have, for instance, ATC, and we are going to insert. So it's going to be maybe a GTC. Okay, so those are our basic types of mutations. So one example of this is a substitution mutation. We can see that right here is our substitution. So this line up on top is part of the gene that actually codes for the different proteins in your blood cells. Okay, this one down here, that actually codes for your cells to be sickled. So what happens with this is up here you have a normal red blood cell. They're kind of circle shaped. And inside of your red blood cell, we have our proteins. So we actually have 4 proteins that work together, and they're kind of shaped like this little shape I'm drawing up here. Each one of those proteins carries one oxygen. So in the middle of each of those protein groups, we have an oxygen, an oxygen, an oxygen, and another oxygen. Okay, and that is coded for in this normal chain. However, in a sickle cell chain, what happens is those proteins don't form in that way, and they're going to form kind of weirdly. Okay, they're going to form very strange. And now, instead of a nice round red blood cell, we get a red blood cell that is sickled in shape, kind of like this one down below here. Okay, and if we're looking at its ability to carry oxygen, it definitely cannot carry as much oxygen. So that's going to be really, really bad for your athletic performance, just walking around, stuff like that. And as you guys can imagine, with those sickle cells, they're going to get clotted in your bloodstream. Okay? However, if you have sickle cell anemia, there is a little parasite called malaria that you then cannot actually get in certain cases. So this has been a very beneficial mutation for people that live in areas where malaria is very, very prevalent, because these people are not as susceptible to getting malaria, which is kind of interesting as well. Another type of mutation we have is a deletion. So one example of this is the deletion that causes Duchenne muscular dystrophy. So part of this, as you guys can see in this picture up here, part of this gene was actually deleted. So the first one right here, this is our normal gene. The second one, this is actually the part right here that got taken out, and the other parts got spliced together. What that actually does is it causes you to have really, really low muscle tone, and these people pretty much have to use a wheelchair for their entire life, and they're muscularly or not muscularly able to like stand upright and different things of that nature. The next one that we have is an insertion. So it's just the opposite. So this first one, we have our normal gene. Second one, we are inserting. So basically we have a repeat of this section. So instead of just normal mucus in the lungs, now we have 2 copies of that part of the gene. If you look at 2 x-rays down below, the one on the right, these are nice healthy lungs. So you can see that these black areas, those are all nice and clear. You can see through it. And then on the left, you can see the cystic fibrosis lung. So you can see all of the cloudy gunk in there. These people don't tend to have very long lives because they eventually kind of suffocate on the mucus that their body is making because they have more copies of that gene than they actually need. So now we have different medications for that, and these people can live longer and actually pass on this genetic mutation to their. For a Frameshift mutation, as you guys can see, we read our codons in sets of 3. So that first yellow sentence on there, I have just 3-letter words. The fat cat ate the fat rat. So that would be how a codon is read in your body. So each 3 letters is read for a specific amino acid. In my green row down here, that is actually a deletion. So if you guys can see, I deleted that T right there. So everything got shifted over. So now the rest of that doesn't make sense, and it's going to code for completely different amino acids. And if we look at that last part, we actually added in an extra A. So that is going to code for a bunch of other stuff that doesn't make sense. So you can see that if you have these mutations early on, it's going to really, really affect everything for that whole gene. So some causes of these gene mutations can be environmental factors, so things like radiation, tobacco, nuclear accidents. I've actually found there's a brand new study I just read that vaping increases your risk of having a stroke 900%. So crazy, crazy stuff. All these things can actually mutate you. And then you're probably looking at the picture of that cute little baby down there. That little baby was caused by something called the thalidomide. Okay, so down here we have tetratogens. So these are mutagens that can cause deformations. Thalidomide, you'll also notice that alcohol is one of them as well. So what happened is thalidomide was actually used as an anti-nausea medication for women that were pregnant. However, there were some drug companies that actually made this drug incorrectly, and it caused mutations like in this little child, where it has what they call flipper fins. Some other mutations can cause cancer as well, so tar in cigarettes, drugs, asbestos, all these different things can actually cause, they have been found to cause cancer because they will mutate your genes. So these are just some pictures as well. Pictures of people like this cute little girl here, and she has a cleft palate. So that is caused by a genetic mutation. These individuals up top here, they were all affected by uranium. So they were affected by that neurological chemical in their environment. Kind of crazy stuff. Okay, just one more note as well. Alcohol use during pregnancy actually has issues beyond, death of a fetus and things like that. So if you carry that child to term, they have heart problems, kidney problems, and they sometimes will actually have brain damage. So learning disabilities, low intelligence, hyperactivity, can't pay attention, and all of those lead to different mental health issues, substance abuse issues, keeping a job, all that crazy stuff. And the crazy thing is, it's 100% preventable. So just kind of something to keep in the back of your mind for actually the rest of your life. So that concludes our little mini lecture about different mutations today. So you guys can complete your assignment that I have put on Schoology.